Hello, welcome to the Snap UK. A leaner version this week as it's just myself, 4 Inches, and Jim.
Hello. It feels very peaceful.
It does, doesn't it? I think we're going to get... the worrying thing is we might get along tonight, and I can imagine Griff and Gary are both at home just shouting, "No! You're a bunch of fucking idiots!"
I think they would shout that every day anyway.
Yeah. True.
I don't know, if you ask me, the Ravens and the Titans are just really set up for a Super Bowl run this year.
I really think Mariota is a pile of shit as well. Just hit all the high notes.
I'm a big fan of that Tom Brady.
I think he could be going somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, should we start with the news? Because he is going somewhere.
So at some point.
At some point. When he retires... I assume there's no time limit on this deal.
I like Ian Rappaport quote tweeted this with 2045.
Yeah. When he retires, he's got a huge 10-year deal with Fox.
375 million.
He's effectively getting paid more than Myles Garrett gets paid as an NFL player. I think it's more than his current Buccaneers contract, in fact.
I mean...
He was always generous with his contract, though, compared to what other people could be earning.
I mean, because Tony Romo, he is on he's at 180 million, which was...
That's just a ridiculous amount of money for someone that annoys the fuck out
I
of
quite
me.
like Tony Romo. The fact he can predict the plays in inverted commas, I think gets overplayed. You know, he was a quarterback. You know, he's good at noticing these things.
It was literally his job to read play.
Yeah,
what he was meant to do. He did it as well as he in the commentary booth as he did it behind the offensive line of the Dallas Cowboys. He might have won a few more games.
Well,
you know what? This retired postmaster really knows about the mail system. This retired doctor helped me with the injury I had. Who'd have thought it?
Yeah. But it's it's the richest in sports media history, and as well, it hasn't happened because he's still with us for another year at least.
I like that, in honour of Gary not being here, though, we started off with a Brady story.
I know. It just fit nicely because it's not really much to say because I mean. At least if at least someone's resetting the market this year. At some point, it's not the Browns. It's Fox.
Makes sense for Fox. I mean, whenever he was going to retire, he was literally going to have every single network clamouring for his services. So for Fox to go and get in there early and go, yeah, we don't mind when it's going to happen as long as it's going to happen with us and we'll pay you what you want. For them, it's that's quite a coup for them.
It is, and I think it's the same amount that Troy Aikman and Tony Romo put together for their contracts. So
double the Super Bowl that those two have put together.
It is well. Yeah, and actually, do you know what? When he's not playing, I find Brady. He's quite funny. He's quite self-deprecating. So I hope that. Yeah,
because he admitted the Tuck rule was a fumble this week.
I mean, no offense, he didn't need to admit that. It was all pretty fucking obvious to everyone but that one referee.
Well, yeah, also, it wasn't him. It was the referee that was in the wrong, not him.
Yeah. And as well, like, how much was the Dallas tight end? I've forgotten his name. Jason Witten.
He was terrible.
He was so bad. So
good he had to go back to playing.
Yeah. and then retired, and the phone did not ring.
That's what Brady's going to do, isn't it? He's going to retire at the end of the year, do a season with Fox, and then go back to playing football.
Pull a Witten.
Yeah.
I mean, once
Pull a Witten shouldn't be. I'm stopping that going into any lexicon.
I was listening to a thing the other day because obviously we know him as the famous one, and like Giselle as a very famous wife. But in Brazil, I think they call him Giselinho, or because they just know him as Giselle's wife, husband even. So yeah,
that's fair.
So
I wouldn't mind being known as Giselle's wife.
I literally,
husband.
I would
settle for wife.
I would crawl through broken glass. I'm not going to finish that sentence.
It's the old thing, isn't it? Crawl through broken glass to hear a fart through a megaphone.
Yeah.
for a walkie-talkie.
Yeah. In other news, I'm just going to mention it quickly because, once again, it's a former quarterback, but Brett Favre's being sued by the Minnesota... I'm just going to get it up. The Minnesota...
There's a phrase of Brett Favre's.
Yeah. The Mississippi Department for Human Services, because he's squandered welfare funds. They've taken some temporary assistance for needy families, anti-poverty program money. He took about $20 million and invested it in a for-profit company, which he was the major shareholder in. He's being sued for about $3.2 million. He said he repaid the money. He didn't realise it was from welfare funds. But he's in the suit is also Ted DiBiase, the $1 million man.
Everyone has a price.
Exactly. As well as Ted DiBiase's two sons, Ted DiBiase Jr. and Brett. There you go.
So basically, Brett's and Ted's.
Brett's and Ted's. Yeah. In actual football news, so Sonny Michel, fresh from his Super Bowl. Did he play in the Super Bowl?
He would have got a ring.
He got a ring.
He would have been on the squad.
He was wearing a uniform.
Probably.
He was wearing team-branded clothing at some point in the location of the stadium.
I don't remember him making much of an impact in the Super Bowl, but he was in the Super Bowl.
That's a guy who's got 2 Super Bowl rings.
He was actually... I thought he made a difference in the one he won for New England.
Against the Rams?
Yeah, it was because it was a turgid game, and you just needed to run it through them every so often. Yeah, he's got a new team.
He's moved to the Dolphins.
He has. It's generally where running backs go to die. And
or be arrested,
or be arrested,
exit the league.
I'd be slightly worried, especially when you've proven to have knees made of asbestos. Yeah, over the last few years, but you've got a San Francisco offensive. Head coach, former coordinator. So if anyone can try and create a running game in Miami, it might be him.
Joining quite a busy kind of running back room though, isn't it? Because they signed Raheem Mostert. They also brought in
Chase Edmonds
from Cardinals, and
you've got Myles Gaskin.
Myles Gaskins is still there, but it kind of fits with what the 49ers were doing in it when Mike McDaniel's there, in terms of we're just going to have a lot of running backs, and whichever one is playing well at whichever time, we'll just keep going to him, and eventually he'll get injured, and then it's next man up. So whether with Tua not probably being as electric in the passing game as maybe they'd hope, maybe they are going to lean on the running game, and Mike McDaniel's like, I just need a lot of running backs because they're going to carry a heavy toll. By the way, he did play in a Super Bowl. He had 2 carries for 2 yards.
There you go. So he's a 2-time Super Bowl attending running back, which
Super Bowl playing,
Super Bowl winning.
Winning, yeah.
He's a double CJ.
So he's a double C. He's a CCJJ. Salvon Ahmed as well. In there, and
you can count that.
Well, there was a lot of people took him quite high in fantasy drafts last year. I'm assuming because
it's him or Myles Gaskin.
Because it was Myles Gaskin, and they would have been insanely disappointed. Although I think at week 3, someone did offer me a trade of Salvon Ahmed for Stephon Diggs, and I've never turned down a trade so quickly in my life.
You broke your phone screen. You hit it that hard.
Yeah. In other news. What's his? I've just forgotten his name.
Mike Davis.
Mike Davis.
Thunderfies.
All I could think of was Thunderfies.
You should have just gone with that.
I should have just gone with Thunderfies. Thunderfies has joined the
Ravens. Good at this,
To-
aren't you? It's
God.
going really well.
So again, another team who just absolutely fill their running back room.
Well, they have to fill it because they're all coming back from ACL injuries.
Getting injured. Yeah, so they've got Mike Davis now. They've got J.K. Dobbins, who I expect will be the lead running back, but you've got Gus Edwards, Patrick Ricard is their fullback, Tyler Baddy, that's his actual name, I've never heard of him, Tyson Williams, Justice Hill, and Nate McCrary. So
Cool.
a lot of depth there. And Lamar Jackson.
And Lamar Jackson,
And Tyler Huntley.
Yep. So, there's...
it's the whole team of running backs, which
Lamar-
is lucky because they don't have
Tyler
any wide receivers anymore.
Tyler Huntley, the Lamar Jackson we have at home.
Jerry Hughes, the Bills defensive end, he's joined the Texans, who actually he's not a sexy name, but actually he has been pretty good. He gets a lot of pressures. Like if you're getting down into like the the analytics of it all, he gets a lot of quarterback pressures, but his sack numbers have just fallen off a cliff.
To be fair, like 3 of us could sign for the Texans and could improve that roster. So them getting Jerry Hughes, I think, is a decent signing. A bit of experience to go into a team which is effectively rebuilding, has got a lot of young players.
Also, someone who's coming from a winning system.
Yeah, exactly.
Just that confidence you get from, like Tyreek Hill going into Miami.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's going to last 1 week into camp, and then he's just going to see the shit all around him, and that confidence will go.
Is that both of the players we discussed there, Jerry Hughes and Tyreek Hill?
Yeah. James Bradbury.
Please don't.
He's left. He's leaving the Giants.
We had Logan Ryan and James Bradbury. We didn't have much, but our cornerbacks were okay.
Yeah.
And now we've got nothing.
Effectively, yes.
Got some good safeties.
Got some great safeties.
We've got some great safeties, but you can still throw over them.
Yeah. It's basic. It's finance related. He carried a huge cap hit, and
Got Prince Amukamara.
Yay.
It's like the poor man's Eli Apple.
oh god. Effectively, Adoree Jackson. Not a bad cornerback.
Yeah, 4 years ago he was all right.
He is not the most. He's quite fragile, Adoree Jackson. Whereas James Bradbury has missed 2 games in 5 seasons.
I can't believe they couldn't find a trade partner for him. Like, given how scarce cornerbacks are, like what were they asking for?
I guess it's more than just the fact that
The number 1 overall pick.
yeah,
And nothing else.
it's like Baker. Like once you know that you can wait a couple of weeks and they're going to be free.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
they're not. They're gonna come with a contract that's been paid for. It just you are completely lost of any bargaining power. You're like even you wouldn't have got a seventh round pick for Baker because everyone knew wait 3 weeks they're going to pay him off and he'll go, or we'll wait till someone gets injured and it's
There's a podcasting. We're going to have a podcast rival in Baker Mayfield's podcast he starts when he's released from the league.
really.
That's what I'm thinking.
He's not going to be released from the league. He'll end up somewhere.
Someone would pick him up.
No, I see him.
I
in the
hope
wilderness.
his podcast is just him going into random offices and booing people because that sounds fun.
Random offices in Cleveland. I don't think he's anywhere else.
So it had a 22 million cap hit this year. Releasing him has saved 10 million. So it's still a huge cap hit for the Giants because they've had to.
This is what Shane did previously when they went into Buffalo. They just absolutely fire-sailed their team.
Gutted the team. Start again.
Yeah.
And I like it because you could have gone to Bradbury and restructured the contract so that the hit comes down the road. And actually,
Why?
Just take the pain, take the hurt.
I think we've said it before. I think this year for the Giants almost has to be written off.
Yeah.
Because it's a year where you're right, you're getting rid of a fair few players, either releasing or just cutting them or whatever, or trading them away, just trying to get more draft picks. It's a year also where this is going to be the make or break year for Daniel Jones. I don't see him on the Giants roster this time next year. I think they're going to start again with a new quarterback.
I mean, he's going to need to get 4,000 yards and a winning season.
I mean, how many quarterbacks how many quarterbacks have there been that have had 3 at best mediocre to bang average seasons, and then suddenly in the 4th year gone, oh yeah, it's worked.
Yeah,
something they're great. It's like
it
doesn't happen.
It's not going to happen, especially 3 middling years.
And
actually, where he's been injured a lot as well. He never plays like more than like 8 games in a row. He generally gets, maybe because we can't protect him, but that that's part of the deal. It's what he comes with.
Yeah. So I mean he'll be gone at the end of the year. I could see Saquon Barkley being released as well.
Same. He needs a big year.
And then I know Griff's always been really down on the appointment of Joe Shane and Brian Daboll. I really like it, and like if the Giants, if the board and the fans can have patience to give them time to recreate what they did in Buffalo, then you got nothing to complain about, because Buffalo probably Super Bowl favourites at the moment.
They're my. I'm picking them for the Super Bowl.
I just want a winning record in New York. That's all I care about. I fell in love with a team that won the Super Bowl and who've just perennially let me down since.
Yeah.
So, the Shermer, Judge. Who did we have before Shermer? McAdoo.
McAdoo.
Shermer, Judge.
Just all forgettable coaches.
It's 4-12.
I could picture McAdoo, because remember when he came back for his second season, like, from the playoffs, and he had the moustache and slick back hair for some reason. You're like.
Whenever I think of McAdoo, I just think of Ned Flanders.
Yeah, that's
the image I have in my head just for that moustache.
I just see him explaining why Eli Manning was benched in favour of Geno Smith.
Yeah.
And just trying to explain it. It wasn't spite.
Yeah. No. Carrying on the news, Richard Sherman has agreed to. He's going to Amazon as a commentator. So, actually, I quite like that. I think he could be a lot of fun.
He could be the best commer in the game.
Yeah, and should we mention Dan Ventrell, because it's fun?
So apparently the interim team president of the Las Vegas Raiders was very swiftly removed from his job with a very curt Twitter statement. Apparently and allegedly it had come out that female employees of the Raiders had raised concerns about child drawing of a man, Mark Davis.
Yes.
Which he'd reported to the league, and apparently and allegedly, him reporting those concerns to the NFL made him lose his job.
Yes. Because he's only the interim team president because the guy before him was forced out for, I think Mark Davis cited accounting irregularities. So it's a bit strange. I guess we're gonna have to wait for the dust to settle on this one.
It just seems a very Raiders thing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it seems like they can't get out their own way sometimes. I think I really like the hiring of McDaniels. I really like the fact that they gave Carr an extra a longer contract, and yet something like this comes out, and you're back. I feel like you're back to square one on what you think about the Raiders, and you're like, it's just going to be another disastrous season, isn't it?
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
There's so many things that are going well. So
yeah,
Devontae Adams, Chandler Jones, secure Derek Carr for the first time since Gruden joined. And just this isn't necessarily the wheels coming off, But one of the nuts on the wheels has become a bit loose.
Yeah. As well, their head of operations and analytics, Jeremy Aguero, he resigned this week as well.
Aguero!
So there's something going on there. I don't know what it is, but something's happening. We'll see what happens.
Snyder-esque.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It is.
It's quite Schneider-esque, yeah. Which is funny because they're the ones who have been most affected by Schneider emails. So who knows? Anyway, so this week we've had free agency, we've had the draft. Now, whilst we're in the quiet part of the season, we're going to take a look at each team and we're going to find we're going to give them one need. Let's say we're playing GM or head coach. It can be either. What is their one need this off season, so they can start with a winning season in 2022-23? So we're going to go by conference, and we'll do it by finishing position last year because that's the chart I've got up. So,
all right, we'll play by your rules.
We'll play by my rules. So we'll start AFC as we always do. AFC East, and the last year's winners were out there were the Buffalo Bills, 11-6. We've already said that they look quite good. They are Super Bowl favourites in a lot of intelligent people's picks, as well as mine.
Even the bookies have them as Super Bowl favourites, I believe.
There you go. I'm prepared. I'm going to be losing a lot of money then, because that's where my money will go. What is their need? Because for all intents and purposes, it could be that actually they don't need a lot. So, Paul, I'm going to start with you. What would you like to see happening in Buffalo?
I've never been a big fan of Dawson Knox. He's all right. But if you're building,
like Dawson Knox.
If you're building this all-conquering team and you've got the best quarterback in the league, you've got this great defense, you've got good wideouts. For me personally, the running back is always a problem there, but it doesn't feel like they see that as a problem and you could just plug in anyone. I'd like to see someone else other than Dawson Knox, personally.
As a Dawson Knox fan, I feel very hurt.
Then my job is done.
Yeah.
Thank you. See you next week.
They signed OJ Howard.
I did not know that.
Yeah, very quiet signing because I think he got put into the Gronk shadow, and when it comes to tight ends, it's not somewhere you want to live, really, is it?
No.
Yeah.
I'm going to start out. I'm going to say I'd like to see offensive line. I think they've got the makings of a good offensive line. I think they could do with. They've lost their guard, one of their guards, to us, Feliciano.
Yeah.
I'd like to see there's quite a few offensive linemen still available on free agency. I'd like to see them, and as well, we might get some releases as well as we go along. I'd like to see them. I'd like to see them beef up the O-line a bit, just to make. Well, you got to protect Allen, but also one day they're going to have a running game. And I believe I'm going to lead you into Jim, who's going to say
running game. I think they've got the parts to improve the running game in terms of signing Roger Saffold, as the left guard, who is good in the running game, and they obviously drafted James Cook in the second round, and he could be,
if he's 0.75 of a Dalvin, you've got a great thing going.
He's pretty decent, so
he'll be injured for 2 more games a season.
It's always a worry. I also looked, pass rush, have they done enough there? Well, they went out and got Von Miller. I'm like, that's pretty decent. I can't really complain there. The depth at cornerback worries me, though.
yes.
Because Tre'Davious White is coming off a serious injury. If he's good, great. They obviously drafted Kyrie Lamb in the first round. Again, it's a rookie cornerback, So you've got to hope. But after that, it's just there's not many kind of household names there where you're like, all right, Tre'Davious White's injured. Teron Johnson's going to come in and we'll all be right. That worries me. So depth in the cornerback. I mean, the two safeties are brilliant, Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde. But the cornerback depth. I mean, it's a struggle because it's a good Bills team. Like, I agree with Paul. Dawson Knox doesn't excite me, but he gets the job done at a tight end.
Yeah,
but they're a good. It's a good squad.
So we can go on this one with Michael away this week. So Patriots finished second in the AFC East last year. Where do they need bulking? Because I'm going to say linebacker.
I agree with you because Donta Hightower, Carl Van Noy, they had long-term tenured players there who've gone.
Yeah,
they are going to be holes in that roster.
And they've replaced it with Mac Wilson from Cleveland,
who's okay.
He's a fine player, but Donta Hightower was the life and soul of that defense, and the quarterback of that defense knew Belichick's system inside out. He was Belichick on the field for them. I'm not sure Matt Wilson's that player. So for me, it's linebacker. I think all across the defense, you can make an argument for edge rushers or pass rushing in general, linebackers, and then even at cornerback, it's Jalen Mills and Malcolm Butler.
Yeah, I have full confidence in Bill and that he'll be able to make I think they've signed some cornerbacks from the undrafted, and I'm sure they'll make them better than some of their parts. But it's a bit lacking. When you're talking cornerbacks, the top free agents ones are Jack Rabbit Jenkins, Joe Hayden, and James Bradbury now. Yeah.
I mean, is Logan Ryan still free?
Yeah.
Because he was a Patriot
Yeah.
One of the differences is now, though, you have these. Like, we always used to joke that some guy, you could pick some guy stacking shelves in a supermarket, bring him into that team, and he'll be a Pro Bowler. But it's different when you haven't got these pieces that were there. When you haven't got a Stephon Gilmore, Donta Hightower, you're losing really important parts. Necessarily not like Donta Hightower's free. Oh my God, every team wants to sign him. But just, again, I'd say the wheel is getting a lot looser there,
I think there was always a core there, wasn't there? Like there were core Belichick players, and then you're right, you could slip players in and out around that core, and they'd be fine. Not stellar, but they'd get the job done. I don't see the core there anymore on that defense. Like on the defensive line, I think Christian Barrymore was good last year. I'm sure he'll go on to be good again. But other than that, Matt Judon went right off the boil in the second half of the season.
It's just those fucking sleeves.
Yeah,
bringing Judon in just didn't feel very Patriots.
I think the whole of that off season didn't feel very Patriots.
It was a strange one, wasn't it? They spent a lot of money. Actually, something we should mention because it might make Chris smile. That the Raiders are interested in bringing back Nelson Aguilar. So you may lose because you've got the new John Ross in the draft. You might as well get rid of Nelson Aguilar. When you're talking linebacker, just
imagine his agent coming to him after each meeting and going, "I don't know why they're doing this." You're the luckiest man in America.
My cash cow. Yeah. At linebacker, free agents are Anthony Barr and Joe Schobert.
Anthony Barr was a very good player for the Vikings.
Yeah. You could bring him in.
He could. He's injury prone, but he's a good player and not too old. But anyway, so Dolphins.
O-line.
They need it to work. Like they've added pieces onto it, like Terran Armstead and Connor Williams. Liam Eichenberg has got another year under his belt. They just need it to come together.
Yeah.
And work.
Just one of the things I liked about Dallas, I don't like much about Dallas, but Dallas in the last 2 or 3 years, if one part is injured or one part goes, the backup is not going to detract from that line.
Connor Williams, he's an ex-Cowboy lineman, so they've Dolphins have done well to bring him in.
But if one of those starters goes, they're fucked.
Yeah. Riley Reif, Eric Fisher, Darrell Williams.
So
Eric Fisher would be fine.
Eric
Dwayne
Fisher,
Brown.
first overall pick.
Yeah.
9 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, he was decent at Kansas in the end. I always thought it was a bit harsh that he got let go because he was injured, and that Super Bowl they just got obliterated by a good Bucs defense. I thought he was fine with the Colts last year. I don't understand why he's not been picked up by someone.
Is it because he's a left tackle and they get paid?
Yeah, potentially.
18 of them. There's 18 left tackles on more than 11 million a year.
It's an important position.
It's huge.
And you'll see this season, Rodgers without Bakhtiari is going to be hilarious.
Can't wait.
Although, of course, at Miami, what they need is a proper right tackle because he's left-handed, isn't he? So he's facing the other way. His blind side's different, isn't it? Anyway,
That's a fair point, actually.
So Jets, impressive draft.
Very impressive draft.
Impressive free agency as well.
Yeah.
Very un-Jets-like.
What do the Jets still need? I mean, for me, what they need is time. They need Mekhi Becton back, and that will give Cac Wilson time to
Not be on his back, Wilson.
there you go. Yeah, slide out to the right and then just throw it to a random defender. What I want to see them get through the season and just not fire Salah. That's what I want them to do. That's what they need. It's time. It's
But we spoke about it last week. Their O-line is in a much better position with Laken Tomlinson, Becton, George Fant is
Still decent.
still decent.
Elijah Vera-Tucker, if he comes through on his potential.
There's some good players there.
Also, rumour has it that Zach Wilson has put on a lot of muscle over the off-season.
I heard that he's apparently
Justin
Salah.
Herbert plan.
Salah's saying he looks bulky.
Bulky, but hasn't lost the ability to still sling it and movement. So, look, I'll play the Griff. We hate the young quarterback card, and that I think you just need Zach Wilson to be a good quarterback. 'Cause he wasn't a good quarterback in his first year. I mean, they started 3-4 quarterbacks in the end because he obviously went down injured, but that first part of the season where he was thrown in at the deep end, all right, it wasn't all his fault, but he just looked like a little lost.
He did. It doesn't help that he
Deer
does.
in the headlights.
He looks 15 years old
Yeah.
anyway.
The last thing you need is Mike fucking White breathing down your neck.
Yeah, Mike White, Josh Johnson, and Joe Flacco. But
Daddy Joe.
when he came back,
He looked better.
he looked a lot better. And if he can carry on that trajectory with, like we said, the improved offensive line, they got Garrett Wilson now, who they drafted 10th overall. Breece Hall, another running back to kind of work with Michael Carter. And Elijah Moore being fit.
Good Lord, Elijah Moore was looked like a absolutely blue chip prospect.
He really did.
I want the Jets to be good.
I want the Jets to be good.
Just to prove Griff wrong.
They put Azuma in from.
Zuma,
Yeah.
tight end.
Yeah, if you've got a young tight end, not a young tight end, a young quarterback having a tight end really helps, and he was brilliant. Especially in the playoffs.
I think he was underrated for the Bengals.
Yeah. Let's move into the North. So, Bengals.
So what was the need for the Jets?
Time.
Bit of confidence.
Wilson to live up to being like the number 3 pick.
Just so all they need is a patient owner. Is their need?
That's what they need.
Fuck.
Yeah. So they're screwed. Yeah.
A patient billionaire.
Yeah. A competent back office. and they've shown some signs. Let's see if they get to the end of the year and just go, fuck it. So AFC North, Bengals came top last year. They've had, once again they've had a really impressive off season. They've added some
Lyle Collins, Alex Kappa. We all said it at the end of the playoff run, the end of the Super Bowl. We all said they need to protect Joe Burrow. They need their offensive line to be a lot better than it was. So they've gone out and signed 3 offensive linemen, experienced offensive linemen. Maybe not the stars. They didn't. There wasn't a Teron Armstead, but they're all 3 solid offensive linemen.
Lyle Collins was fantastic.
Yeah.
It's strange to go into the new season thinking there aren't that many holes for the Bengals.
The one thing I wanted to mention, I drafted Jelani Woods. I'd like to mention that
yes.
again. What should have been our reach, but wasn't. And they have no tight end signed beyond this season coming.
Yeah.
Fair. They have got Hayden Hurst this year, who he was underrated not underrated. He was just flat in Atlanta, but he was decent enough in Cleveland.
I think
Drew Sample.
Why does that always make me laugh?
I don't know. Same.
Mature.
I don't know why.
When we have our break, I'm gonna. What did you do? I went to the bathroom and drew Sam.
Exactly. Yeah.
No,
tight end. Actually, is a huge loss.
Who were their wideouts past Jamar Chase? I realise it doesn't.
T. Higgins,
Tyler Boyd.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah. Okay. I always forget Tyler Boyd.
Yeah. I mean, Joe Mixon came into his own last year. He was really good.
Yeah. He'll probably be better with a better offensive line as well.
And also people like Lyle Collins who are used to a running game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now,
cornerback, Eli Apple's their starting right cornerback.
Yeah.
He's motivated, he's okay.
I would still like...
someone who isn't described as a locker room cancer.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, he surprised me last year, but... He's still Eli Apple.
I think he's fine in rotation.
Yeah.
Like if he's your 3rd or 4th cornerback, that's all right.
Yeah.
Him being the starting cornerback, I'm like, we can pass against this team.
Yeah. And it's
we have a chance here, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
So Steelers.
I like what they've done in this off-season so far. I think the thing for me is, what happens if TJ Watt gets injured?
I don't. See, the thing is, I still think they'll be fine. But it's the Steelers.
But the Steelers have always had taking away TJ Watt. And I realise you could go to most teams and go, yeah, what would the Chiefs be without Mahomes at quarterback? But if you take away, there's not much at linebacker I can see in this team past TJ Watt.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I like what they've done in terms of signing middle linebacker. I think Devin Bush and Miles Jack, they're 2 middle linebackers.
Oh yeah.
Miles Jack is criminally underrated as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we've said it with a few ex-Jaguar players. I feel like he's one of those players that just needed to get out of Jacksonville.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
He's in the perfect place in Pittsburgh for a linebacker to be.
So I guess linebacker depth is what they need. Actually, the starting team,
the wide linebackers in that 3-4 defense, the edge rusher, for want of a better word.
The edge rushers. Yeah, we would like some depth. I mean, it's
Can we talk about quarterback?
We can.
I think they've got an audition. Open casting.
I think in any other team, the quarterback room for you got in terms of Trubisky, Pickett, Mason Rudolph would be an issue. I think Pittsburgh and Tomlin are the one team in the league that are almost quarterback proof.
Yeah.
The defense is so good, and for whatever reason, or however they play it. I mean, look at the season where Roethlisberger is injured, and they still went 8-8.
Yeah,
with Mason Rudolph and Duck
Hodges.
For
fuck's
sake.
I know, absolutely insane. One of the worst quarterback rooms I've ever seen.
Yeah,
and they
It almost made the playoffs.
Almost made the playoffs, yeah.
Swinging helmet, Mason Rudolph.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I mean, yeah. Like, in running back, Najee Harris is going to be a star. And
Already is.
He's a star. He's a star. But
Offensive line.
Benny Schnell as well is still pretty good. Offensive line. Like the news of the death of the Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line of last season proved to be false.
Yeah.
They're fine.
Again, they're one of these teams that just bring in players. I think signing James Daniels at right guard, I think he's a quality offensive lineman, and he'll just fit in, and you've got absolute confidence that it will just work.
Yeah. Wide receiver,
Again,
Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, joined by George Pickens, who looks like he's going to be a star player.
Bo Jackson relative, isn't he?
Is he?
Sure he is. Let me double check.
Check that, but yeah, you're right. He's absolutely. And the other one you didn't mention, Calvin Austin, who they picked up in the draft. Who, again, is another very different to those three wide receivers. It adds a bit more depth. And Pat Fryermuth, I thought, had a great rookie season.
Yeah, he was
for a tight end. I think he's just going to go from if you're then putting either Mitch Trubisky or Kenny Pickett, and like you said earlier, you want a quality kind of tight end to kind of be that safety outlet. And what better than Pat Fryermuth, who was known as Mini Gronk when he was with Penn State.
Bo Jackson is his uncle.
Well, there you go. That's good bloodlines, isn't it?
Now, a eventful off season. So for the Steelers, what we want some more depth on defense. I think that's Browns. They've bought in the quarterback. They have lost a lot of wide receivers.
Morality.
But yes. Yeah, we have. That's fine. Move on.
Just one thing for me is Jadeveon Clowney. Jadeveon Clowney on one side, Garrett on the other.
Yeah,
is
go
terrifying.
back out. Go back out and sign Jadeveon Clowney. Bring him back.
I think they probably will. I mean, they have cap space. Clowney. I mean, I guess he with his injury problems as well in the past, he doesn't like an off season. It seems.
It's quite sensible.
It is quite sensible.
But the hardest working man in football is Jadeveon Clowney's agent or Jadeveon Clowney's house movers.
Yes.
Right, guys, let's go. What do you mean going? The season starts tomorrow. Yeah, I know, we signed a contract at last.
Yeah. But that's it, if you have Garrett and Clowney, I mean, effectively, it's probably like in the top 4 or 5 defenses in the league.
Yeah, I think defense, they're good. They're fine. Wide receiver, behind Amari Cooper and Donovan Peoples-Jones, you've got Anthony Schwartz.
Who? Yep. Now, Amari Cooper moving to the Browns in any other offseason apart from this batshit crazy fucking mental one they're on would be one of the biggest moves going.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And for what they got him for, was it ridiculous?
So
6th
cheap.
round
So
pick.
cheap.
It's just, I mean, it's a salary sacrifice by the Cowboys, but yeah, fair enough. The Browns have moved from being everyone's like lovable underdogs to everyone's hated team now, unless you're a Browns supporter. And even if you're a Browns supporter, I think some of them are.
Yeah, I think they are. Some of them are finding it hard to reconcile the Deshaun Watson trade.
They need to get rid of Baker Mayfield. There you go.
They do need to get rid of Baker Mayfield. That is their need. Let's
One
move
way
on.
or another.
They're going to pay. I think they're just going to have to pay him. Ravens. I'm going to say a new physio because last year, I've never known so many injuries.
That was ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, they all, and who else did they lose? A whole load of other people. Brought in so many different running backs to fill that place. Lamar Jackson ended up getting injured, and then
running back Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, and then pretty much their entire backfield, Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Williams, all out injured at one point.
We're going to practice on Madden this week, boys. Here's your controllers.
Yeah, Jesus.
I'm going to tell you what my worry is with Baltimore. Edge rusher.
Yes.
Yep.
David Ajabo tore his Achilles.
He's now with the physio, because he's coming injured.
They have Tyus Bowser, who was their sack leader, which I still think is a hilarious term. He's questionable because he had off-season Achilles surgery.
Yeah, it's a bit slim, isn't it?
And when you see some of the Ravens has always been built on incredible defense and run game. You haven't got that incredible defense. Well, you've got an incredible defense in a treatment room.
I think the backfield, like the cornerbacks and safeties, I think are going to be excellent if they're all fit. I think the addition of Kyle Hamilton. Wow. Yeah, I think we talk about players that I'm most excited, or rookies I'm most excited seeing playing. He's one of them. But yeah, you're right. Up front, that could be an issue.
Yeah, and I'm assuming their new punter, Jordan Stout, is fucking excellent because he got drafted ahead of Punt God, Matt Araiza. Yeah. So I'm expecting great things from
Punt
whoever this guy is.
That was a thing during the draft.
Punt God, yeah. Okay, so we'll move on to the south. Tetons.
Wide
receiver. I mean,
I don't even need to look at the depth chart.
No, I'm not. No. Julio's gone.
I disagree with you both here because they've bought in a first round talent here, haven't they?
Yep.
Okay, AJ Brown is a huge loss, but you've bought in first round talent. That's the best you can do without going into free agency.
Yep.
But there's needs on this O-line, and for a team that's built on Derrick Henry running through you, you need, or keeping Tannehill upright and for 4 seconds. Roger Saffold is a huge loss.
Yeah, no, you're right. It is. My only thing is, I think even had the whole thing with AJ Brown not happened and AJ Brown was still on the roster, I think I'd still, and even with Robert Woods joining, I think I'd still be saying tight end or wide receiver. I think it's, we brought in Julio Jones last year. That didn't work. That was a mitigated disaster. You've now got Robert Woods, I think, is a quality player, but
injured,
and I would say not a wide receiver number one.
I mean,
it's fair.
Yeah.
No, he's not. He's a viable.
He was a 1.5 at the Rams, wasn't he?
I think he's a very good player, but I don't think he's not the
very
prime.
Expensive as well.
Yeah.
Do you remember a couple of years ago when we were like, oh, who is better? I mean, like Cup and Woods, and then literally as soon as we said that, basically Cup just went and obliterated him.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Which is not a bad. It's not a slight on Woods. Cup is
what Woods is good at. He's great in the blocking game, so he's going to work. I think that'll work in Derrick Henry's favour. So you got Woods, then you got Treylon Burks, who is a rookie wide receiver. He could be good. I'm not denying that. Raw. And then your next up is Nick Westbrook Ikine.
Who?
Ikian. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a Madden regen.
So realistically, I think if you're then Derrick Henry and you're then the Titans, you're going to have one cornerback and one safety double teaming Robert Woods. The rest, all right, one-on-one. And then every team's just going to stack the box to stop Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
There's no deep threat hit there.
I realise
there is 3 touchdowns in one game, Jeff Swain.
Yep.
This is why I've not mentioned tight end, because they're fine. They have ultimate production.
They've got Austin Hooper and Jeff Swain.
Yeah.
I have the perfect specimen
I'd like
of
to see
manhood.
Offensive line. I think they needed to do some work with that, and they haven't. But let's move on. Colts. So they bought in Matt Ryan. They've moved on Griff's favourite, Carson Wentz. I mean, is anyone going to say anything other than wide receiver here?
No.
I don't. We keep saying it, I think, but...
I don't care. Michael Pittman is not good enough.
No, he's not.
No.
Absolutely. I think he's a good player.
This is the one thing I'm enjoying without Griff here. Pittman ain't good enough.
No.
That wideout room, none of those players would be a wide receiver one at any other team.
He's had the opportunity to stand up and be wide receiver one, and he hasn't taken it. Like he had games, and I had him on a couple of fantasy teams.
I had him this year,
as a reserve, and every so often he'd get a touchdown in a 100-yard game. But it wasn't like, okay, I know this is an unfair comparison. It wasn't like a Cooper Kupp or Tyreek Hill who are going to get 100 yards every game and at least a touchdown every game. Like, you're not getting that production from him. Now, maybe he'll be better with Matt Ryan, who's, I think, an upgrade in quarterback versus probably both Carson Wentz and Phillip Rivers. So maybe that'll improve things. But, again, you're looking at Pittman being your wide receiver 1, and then Alex Pierce, who they've drafted this year, being number 2, and Paris Campbell, who, again, is another wide receiver that's just...
flattered to deceive.
Yeah. Like, again, a good wide receiver for Ohio State, got injured, never come back to be the same wide receiver. So, yeah, they need options. And then tight end, I mean, they need receivers. Again, tight end, Mo Ali Cox is their leading...
No, they're fine. They bought Jelani Woods.
Yeah. I just spotted that. And I was like, okay.
Number 1 wide out in the draft class. I know a lot of people will say, but Paul, Pittman got 1,000 yards last season for a team with a great O-line and a number 2 overall pick.
And like one of the best running backs
in
the league.
He should have... that team should have done better. Frank Reich's on a very warm seat.
Yeah. Not quite. I don't know if I believe that, but
I think it's warm.
It's not. Yeah.
I think. I mean, I always say Carson Wentz. I think was his.
Yes, I think that was
his decision. He wanted Carson Wentz based on his experience and his relationship in Philadelphia. And I think it very quickly didn't work. Podcast dog having a drink. One of many podcast dogs. And it very quickly didn't work, so they got rid of. They kind of rectified that mistake very quickly. So I think that could still have a bit of a cloud hanging over him. So yeah, I think potentially he could be on a warm seat. I think if they don't make the playoffs this year, I could see him going.
I look at the division. I think actually, if you don't make the thing this year, like it's a Tetons team that's I think on the cusp of a rebuild.
Yeah.
I think Tannehill reaching his end of days there. The Texans are the Texans and the Jags are the Jags. If they don't make the playoffs, it's a very warm seat.
I mean, last year when they didn't make the playoffs, there were rumours that he could be gone.
Yeah. Yeah, I changed my mind then. Yeah. Okay.
Also, going back to the Titans, they did bring in Malik Willis, so Tannehill's got some competition. I'm not saying Tannehill is guaranteed week 1 starter. Yeah. There's not going to be a competition here, but there's pressure.
Okay.
Yep, fair.
Texans.
Everything.
Yeah. Name a player. They need
position. They need it. Except left tackle.
Can they just bring in like independent auditors? Can we just have somebody come in and go, what is wrong here?
I'm going to read out their according to ESPN depth chart, their starting defense. And now this doesn't include Jerry Hughes, who we mentioned earlier, so add him in. Jonathan Greenard, Malik Collins, Ross Blacklock, Rasheem Green, Neville Hewitt, Christian Kirksey, Camus Grugier-Hill, Derek Stingley, Eric Murray, Terrence Brooks, Stephen Nelson. There are maybe Christian Kirksey. All right, recognise that name.
Stephen Nelson was a cornerback at the Steelers for a while.
Yeah.
Kirksey was he at the Browns? Packers. Yeah. Basically flattered to deceive everywhere he went.
Yeah, I mean, Derek Stingley is already the standout player on that defense, and we don't know how good he's going to be.
Yeah, of course, it's a poison chalice, that isn't it? Oh, he's going to be great at the Saints or whatever it is in 5 years' time. They basically pick a position they need it. Apart from,
I'm going to go with tight end.
Yeah, they haven't got anyone.
They literally haven't. I mean,
so I'm going to read out some of the names of their tight ends. Tegan Quitriano, Pharaoh Brown, Anthony Leclerc, and Brevin Jordan.
Yeah.
I could have given you 100 quid. I would have put 100 quid on the table for you to name one of them. Yeah.
I mean, as well, we have Brown, Leclerc, and Jordan have been there 3 years. And, that's how much of an impact they've made on the league. As well, do you want to guess where the team finished in rushing efficiency last year?
Last, yes. I like that they signed Marlon Mack. I like that signing if he can stay fit.
Yeah,
they brought in Mark Ingram, who did out there.
Yeah.
I think Marlon Mack has had a year off effectively because he was basically a scratch for most of last year.
When they've got Brandon Cook, who always gets you 1,000 yards.
Exactly.
No matter who is thrown to him.
But yeah, it's
a very when I say underrated, it's not entirely true because the man's played for some very, very good teams and been quite expensive in his career. But still, it seems sad he's ended up there.
So, Jags. Now the Jags.
My need I'm going to put forward is new owners.
Yeah, can we have a no, they need to get rid of Balky. I'm sorry. Basically, this year I thought what they need in the draft is offensive line and receivers, and they had 12 picks, and through trades they turned that into 7, and addressed neither offensive line or receiver. Cam Robinson, we mentioned last week. I'm not a huge fan, but they've paid him. They've paid a lot of money. Yeah. They've had to pay a Jags tax on some wide receivers.
Which is ironic because you don't pay tax in Florida.
Yeah.
Surprised you don't see more players go in there.
3 teams in Florida.
True.
But yeah. It's not a young. It's not a young receiver core.
Yeah, Laviska Shenault is the only one under 25.
Oh my god.
I think, and also, if you've got this elite talent quarterback, you got to give him more.
Some would argue, Griff, that a quarterback should be able to elevate the players around him. A quarterback of that stature. When I say that kind of level of reputation,
But he tried to argue that Peyton Manning didn't have wideouts last week.
But he's an idiot.
Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne,
they're pretty
the
decent.
2 Hall of Fame caliber wideouts.
But
Dallas Clark, the Hall of Fame caliber Titan.
So Lawrence has Shenault, Marvin Jones, Zay Jones, Christian Kirk. There's some players.
Names.
It's another case of a lot of number 2s.
It's a lot of number 2s. It feels very, Lionsy. And Evan Ingram has been brought in to the tight end position.
If he stays fit, it's a good signing.
He's an upgrade on Tebow.
He's not going to stay fit.
He's not going to stay fit. Brandon Scherf on the offensive line isn't a good signing.
That one.
But yeah.
I mean, you get Travis Etienne back as well.
Yes.
And that's if you get half of what Travis Etienne was at Clemson, that's something.
That's a receiving running back as well. In terms of he was decent in the receiving game in Clemson, so that's another outlet.
And he's used to Lawrence as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But is he used to having 3 less seconds?
For me, I lump the Jags and the Jets together in terms of they're 2 franchises which are badly run, are always doing badly. But I just want them to succeed. just once. I want something to work for them because I feel sorry for their fan base. They've had nothing.
Good. Okay.
Good.
I mean, it wouldn't take. We mentioned it wouldn't take much for the Jaguars to legitimately be in a playoff contending area
in this division.
Yeah,
it would not take much to become worst to first.
Yeah, I think that's the division where that can genuinely happen with what's happened at the Titans over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. I mean, the Titans have made it a hell of a lot easier for the Jags.
Yeah,
but if anyone can fuck that up, it's the Jags.
Absolutely.
This is the first time they've not done anything really dumb.
No.
This is true.
No.
Even with Trent Baalke.
But Christian Kirk was
fine.
Expensive, but yeah, you're right,
Solid.
Jags tax.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to a division that's the exact opposite. This one is going to be, I don't know if it's going to be harder or easier, because effectively,
fireworks.
Oh, it's going to be fun, this. You get the feeling it's either going to be brilliant or there's going to be some huge letdowns, and that's going to be even more fun. So, Chiefs in the AFC West, they finished first last year. They've lost, obviously, Hill to the Dolphins, but they've replaced him with
Smith-Schuster, Scantling, and then they drafted Sky Moore as well.
Yeah.
That's okay for me.
I think it's fine.
I'm going to say a edge rusher.
I agree with you.
Yeah. They drafted Karlaftis, so if he turns out to be decent and fair play, I think they drafted really well actually. I think they didn't overpay for a receiver when they were at the back end of the first round. They went with Karlaftis and McDuffie, the cornerback, and I think there are two areas on defense they needed to address. So fair play there. I think if you now look down their defense, it's almost like the complete opposite of the Texans, where there are name players who you trust in Jones, Clark. Nick Bolton had a great rookie year at middle linebacker. They brought in Justin Reed to replace Tyrann Mathieu.
And that is quality GM work.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It literally is the complete opposite of the Texans.
I'd love Melvin Ingram to come back.
He had a good end of the second half of the season for them. And he would add some depth.
Yeah.
Why not? Yeah.
It's difficult to say what they need.
No. What they probably need is they need the wide receivers to gel with Mahomes.
I was going to say they need probably two of those 3 or 4 wide receivers that they brought in. Let's say they need 2 out of Smith-Schuster, McCall Hardman, Valdez Scantling, and Sky Moore. They need 2 of those to step up and take all of the catches that Tyreek Hill had last year.
You aren't going to get a replacement for Tyreek Hill, but what you can do is moneyball it. Yeah, replace his production with 2 or 3 players. If they can do that, they're fine.
And Smith-Schuster at one point was considered one of the best in the league.
Absolutely.
So he came in so young. Like he's still ridiculously young.
Yeah. He could be brilliant.
He can. He has been brilliant. He has had injury problems, but
attitude
problems. But this is his time to. You aren't going to get Mahomes and Andy Reid.
If he can't make it work in Kansas with those two, then then ask himself a few questions.
You're looking at a trip to Florida and the Jags, I'm afraid. After that,
the one thing I feel the Chiefs need is a Raiders to implode.
So let's move on to them. Raiders. They've brought in obviously Adams. They've brought in a new head coach.
They've got one of the best pass rushers in the league in Max Crosby.
Yeah.
And Chandler Jones, haven't they brought in?
They brought in Chandler Jones as well.
Chandler Jones and Max Crosby at defensive end is a scary team.
Yep, it's decent.
Middle linebacker, yes.
There's still a big question mark. They got Denzel Perriman, Jayon Brown, and Divine Diablo, which is a brilliant name for a
stripper.
Yeah. Well, it's in Las Vegas. So.
Yes.
And then actually you keep going back and all right, Rock Ya-Sin is a solid cornerback. Trayvon Mullen is flattered to see. I like Trayvon Morig, the safety, but I think after that defensive line, I think there's more question marks at the second and third levels.
I was going to bring up the O-line for them because you've got players like Alex Leatherwood, who's been shite.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, defensive line isn't brilliant.
No. It's
okay.
It's fine. Yeah. It's fine. I don't like going into a new season with like hope for the Raiders because I don't want to see Steve happy.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's very true.
I don't like to see McDaniels happy.
No, but yeah. I
see Mark Davis happy.
Well,
moving on.
Chargers. So, what do the Chargers need so that they can avoid doing the Chargers thing of having an impressive season and then losing out at the end?
A little bit of extra luck.
Yeah. They've added
I mean,
Khalil Mack to Joey
had
Bosa.
a brilliant off-season.
Yeah.
Like, you look through their team, there is no weakness.
No. Look.
All right, maybe right tackle.
Who's the tight end for them?
Gerald Everett. All right. I mean,
Fine.
but like the wide receivers, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Jalen Guyton.
Yeah, wideout's not a problem. I mean, Keenan Allen at one point will drop off. It
Yeah.
hasn't happened
Yeah,
yet. It will.
You got Austin.
Will it?
Eckler,
Might not, it won't be this. Probably might not be this. Probably not this season.
For me, it's tight end. Gerald Everett
yeah.
wasn't very good at the Rams, wasn't very good at the Seahawks.
I think it's a reach when you've got everything else around Justin Herbert. But yeah, I mean, that's the state we're in with the Chargers, and that everything on paper just looks perfect.
Yeah.
But you just expect them to charge it up.
You need
Yeah.
Derwin James to stay fit. I know I'm
That was last year.
I'm the biggest. I'm the chairman of the Britain
Yeah.
Derwin James fan
Yeah.
club, but they are such a more competitive team with him at safety.
You need JC Jackson to not do the typical Patriots thing.
Yes.
And completely fall off the radar after leaving the Patriots.
He's not moved to the Lions, so he's fine.
This is true.
But neither did Malcolm Butler.
Yeah.
He just fell off a cliff. So
He was Super Bowl MVP.
yeah, but he has. The thing is, they have a defensive head coach who's not Matt Patricia. It might be fine.
It's a risk, isn't it?
It is a risk. And Bosa and Mac, it's going to be superb, but because you're paying them so much, there is no depth behind them. So you are an injury away. But that's the same with everyone.
Yeah.
Because they're paying them so much, you can't have the depth. So let's. I just mentioned, but yeah, I think maybe tight end, and yeah, they need some. But yeah, you've got it right. They need luck. That's the
what it
one
comes
thing
down
that's
to.
avoided them for years.
And also, they are in a horribly competitive division.
Yes, and
Is it just
worst to first possible here because Denver Broncos, they've bought in a little-known quarterback, Russell Wilson.
not that little. Over 6 feet. Shade under 6 feet.
But yeah,
They're
They're
far too confident for my liking.
They have a swagger, but actually, I don't mind a swagger because, like, it's not like you're going in with a swagger and you've got Blake Bortles at quarterback. It's Russell Wilson, and he's throwing to Jerry Jeudy, who I think could be good.
Okay.
Cortland Sutton.
I think Jerry Jeudy has the potential to be more than okay now that he's got a quarterback.
Yeah, Tim Patrick. He
A couple of good games last year.
a couple of good games.
I just worry that we look.
Is it expectations?
Yeah, the whole thing for the whole, I guess, probably the last 2 seasons with Denver is like, brilliant team. They just need a quarterback. I just worry that they've now got a quarterback. It's just gonna, I don't know. It's just gonna fall flat on its face.
There is as well. There is an ownership battle, isn't there? Because there's bidding.
They're going to be sold.
They are going to be sold. There's bidding. So I think I can't remember who's.
The son of the founder of Walmart.
Yes.
Bidding. He's worth $69 billion.
Yeah.
I think the next richest owner would be David Tepper on something like $20 billion.
It's huge.
And David Tepper's done a wonderful job so far.
He's got a lot of sort of star power in with his bid as well, like Magic Johnson.
Magic Johnson's joined his team.
Yeah. I don't. Is that the bid that Peyton's on, or was it Peyton's?
No, that's a separate bid.
Separate bid. But Peyton's got another. So there could be a distraction as well. From, I mean, you could say, do the players take notice? Look at Chelsea and their recent form; they've gone off a cliff because. I guess it's a different circumstance, but still,
it's a fair point. Yeah, I think I heard this on another podcast. They're going to be sold probably for around about $5 billion.
Wow.
Yeah,
But they are one of if I ask a man on the street to name an NFL team, that would be one of them.
Yeah.
What made me laugh is back in the 80s, Jerry Jones bought the Dallas Cowboys for about 150 million.
Yeah.
And now I reckon that if you're selling the Dallas Cowboys, it would probably be 10 billion.
They are the biggest franchise in sport. Right,
so what do the Broncos need?
Dampen expectations, I think.
Their defense worries me slightly because everyone's saying they've got the great defense, but I couldn't name a Denver linebacker.
Chubb as an edge rusher.
I think I would also say pass rush. I don't think they've really replaced Von Miller on the other side.
How do you replace Von Miller, though?
Well, you at least give it a go. I don't think they've done that.
Randy Gregory.
I felt that was far too much money for the output.
Yeah, but it's I guess the defense isn't as strong as it's been in previous years. So let's go with that. Let's linebacker. Anyway, actually we'll come back and we'll do the NFC.